Everybody, welcome back to Just Keep Parenting. Whew, it's been kind of a long week. Kind of glad it's coming to an end. But it's been a good week. We've had a lot of learning opportunities here at the lab school. My teachers are coming right along. The kids are coming right along. And so it's been a good week. It just tires me. It tires me right out. But we're going to talk today. We've been talking about the 7 powers of self-control from Dr. Becky Bailey, conscious discipline. And today we're going to talk about the power of intention, right? So recognizing that conflict is an opportunity to teach. And that's not what we normally think about when we think of conflict, right? We think of conflict as kind of a bad thing. I don't want to have conflict because if I have conflict, then that must mean that I'm doing something wrong or my child is doing something wrong. When in reality, we have to change our paradigm. We have to have a paradigm shift to be able to say, this is a time to teach, right? When we've got conflict going on, this is a time for teaching. And so as we think about, I think we have to take we have to be introspective. And what is it? What is it that, do I like conflict? Most of us will say no. But if we recognize that conflict is that time to teach, then sometimes we feel a little bit better about it. So be introspective. Be honest with yourself. Is conflict bad, right? Do you think that conflict is bad? We usually look at it as disruptive. It's something that we want to avoid. And sometimes as parents or caregivers, we think of conflict as disobedience, right? If the kids are disobedient, then there must be some disrespect going on, right? And we forget to take into account the age of the child, right? If they're a toddler, they're seeking independence, right? So they're just going to say no. That's part of who they are as they start to seek independence and see themselves as a separate being from their caregiver. We have a 7-year-old who's just trying to figure out the world, and right, they seem like they're in their own world. It's not disrespect at all. It's just that they're so, they've gone inside themselves for a bit as they try to figure things out. That 7 to 8 is such a big jump for them, right? So if we have a little bit of knowledge about development and what happens in different ages of that development, then we're able to see conflict as not necessarily a disrespect, but we're able to see it as an opportunity to teach. One of the things that Dr. Bailey talks about a lot is our belief in, let me read this. As a parent, when you equate disobedience with disrespect, you create a link between your child's behavior and your own competence, right? If I was competent, this child wouldn't be doing this. Although this connection is not valid, your belief in it can cause you to lose control quickly, right? And so it really, there again, is a paradigm shift, right? What about if your child throws a fit in the grocery store, right? What do? We've all seen it. We've probably all done it, right? It's like these people are watching me when in fact we're all just saying, we wish you well. We have been there. We have done that. We wish you well, right? We're not really looking at them, judging them like, oh my gosh, I wish that parent would get control of that child, right? Because we've been there, right? As we get older, we're like, I'm going to wish you well, right? But if we say no to buying a toy, we have a fit. Most of the time we look at it and say, gosh, why can't my kid just understand that, there's no toy. We're not going to the store. You're not going to come to the store with me again. When in reality, it may just be overwhelming feeling, right? An overstimulation of everything that's there. There's all these things there, and I want to have one. I see it in the classroom. If there's too many choices, if there's too many things out at a center, we have overstimulation, right? We have more crying. We have kids that can't figure things out. We have more wandering. And so I'll say to the teachers, look at your center, right? Does it feel organized? Does it feel overwhelming? Because sometimes we think, oh, more is better. More is not always better. And so we have to take that look at what our child is communicating to us, right? If they're throwing a fit because there's a toy, there's 1,000 toys at Walmart, right? And so we have to look at what's happening in the environment to be able to help our child, to help have that opportunity to teach, right? And so we just need to recognize as adults in children's lives that this is a necessary part of their development, right? Figuring this out, the toddler, the 7-year-old, it's all necessary for them, right? But as people, as humans, we cling to that and say, oh, if my kids were only perfect, if I was only a perfect parent, this would all work out. My house would be fine. We're not perfect, right? And the sooner that we can recognize that and be vulnerable about that, we're going to feel better about ourselves, and we're going to have more opportunities. We're not going to have more. We're going to take more opportunities to have a teaching moment with our children. I know that we've kind of all done this, right? As we look at kids, because we see conflict as bad, right? We want a magic bullet. We want something that's going to fix it, right? So the magic bullets end up being bribery. If you don't do that in the store, I'll buy you whatever you want later, right? Or I'll give you some candy, or I'll give you some ice cream when we get home. Just don't make me look bad as a parent, right? No, right? We got to look at the environment. We got to set that up, right? We can bargain with our kids, right? That's something that we do. Sometimes we've screamed. We have just let off steam and we have screamed at our kids. And the other thing that we do, we tend to take away privileges, right? All right, you do that again, we're not going to do that. You're not going to ever get to go to your friends again. Really? Are you really going to say that? Because as a parent that's not permissive, you have to follow through with that, right? And so be careful with what comes out of here. I remember I had a niece. Her child is going to school first year at freshman at college, but I remember she called me in tears one day and she said, Aunt Dory, I think I've just ruined her. I have just ruined her. I said, sis, take a deep breath, slow down. Let's talk about this. What happened? Well, she was doing something, and I can't remember what it was. She was doing something. I told her if she did that again, right? She was 18 months old. If she did that again, I was going to put her head in the toilet. She was a mess, right? She thought she damaged her child. And I said, well, did you have to? And she's like, no, she didn't do it again. Thank heavens, right? But we have to think about those consequences, think about the privileges that we're taking away and be able to follow through with those privileges. But on the flip side, if we can just take it as a teaching moment, right? Because every conflict gives us an opportunity to teach. Sometimes we're like, I'm tired of teaching opportunities, right? I've had enough teaching opportunities today, right? But that's our job, to take a deep breath and say, this is another opportunity for me to teach my child, for me to teach the child that I'm working with, right? One of the benefits of that is pretty soon our children are going to be able to resolve conflicts themselves. We've been in school now for 3 weeks. And already today, as we were debriefing as teachers, I was amazed as the teachers would say, well, so-and-so's peer entry is getting better. And I said, how do you know that? What have you done to support that, right? Another teacher would say, well, I didn't see that her, she wasn't fighting as much at dramatic play. What are you doing, right, when she does fight? Well, we're talking about it, right? We're giving her some other tools rather than just having that short fuse go off. We're able to talk about it and talk about from this perspective, even though the 4 and 5-year-olds don't really get perspective taking yet, we're able to talk about that and I become their voice. Well, look at her body. She is frustrated because you just grabbed the baby out of her hand and she was using the baby. So we've got to find a different way so that you can have a turn and she can have a turn with the baby. So let's work this out, right? Conflict resolution is not something that they just get. Conflict resolution is something that we have to help them. We teach them. We have these opportunities to help them work through it. So this week, as you think about the power of intention, which is conflict, right? An opportunity to teach, I want you to think about these 3 things, right? Affirm yourself. Conflict as an opportunity to teach and learn, right? And then the other thing that we need to think about is, what is my intention, right? Do I want to scar them for life? Do I want to scare them to death? Probably not, right? And so what is my intention? Just ask yourself that before you explode or what you normally do. And then the other thing is just respond to conflict. Focus on that, right? Focus on this is an opportunity to teach. Respond to the conflict rather than trying to eliminate, right? So those are the 3 things we can work on this week. Go team. Pass it on to parents, to teachers that you might think are having a bad day with parenting. Sometimes we just need to get together with people that think alike, right? The people that are having the same problem that we are. And it's like validating to say, oh, your kids do that too. Oh, you do that too. Oh, good, right? I'm not an awful parent. We are doing the best we can with the information that we have, right? So go team. I'm rooting for you. I'm wishing you well. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.